Azealia Banks had just dropped a bombshell on Twitter. She tagged Conor McGregor and exposed something explicit. No rumors, no teasing, just Conor completely exposed, showing off his notorious side in the most jaw-droppingly sexual way imaginable. And the internet hasn't stopped spiraling since. The question is, what does Conor's girlfriend and mother of his children, Dee Devlin, think of this? To the outside world, she's the picture of loyalty. The high school sweetheart turned partner in fame. The woman who, when Conor had nothing, no UFC contract, no whiskey brand, no super yachts or Gucci suits, was there, paying rent, feeding him, and believing in his dream. She wasn't chasing clout, she wasn't in it for the cameras, she was all in, long before the world even knew his name. And now, nearly 2 decades later, she's still there, still smiling for the photos, still standing next to a man whose scandals are no longer rare, but expected, and still, somehow, silent. But silence doesn't mean peace, and loyalty doesn't always mean love. Because if the Conor McGregor of 2025 is a far cry from the scrappy Dublin fighter she fell for in 2008, then who exactly is Dee Devlin still in love with? And more importantly, is she really free to leave? Let's talk about that. When people talk about Dee Devlin, they almost always begin with how she held Conor down during the early years. And that's true. While he trained in gyms and plotted his rise to stardom, she worked multiple jobs, paid the bills, bought his training gear, cooked his meals, believed in him even when his own extended family had doubts. To many fans, she became a symbol, the ultimate partner. Someone who loved her man before the fame, before the millions, before the headlines. The loyal, grounded Irish girl who kept Conor centered. But loyalty can be a dangerous thing when it goes unrewarded, because somewhere along the way, the balance shifted. Once Conor made it, the dynamic changed. He wasn't just a rising fighter anymore, he was the fighter, the biggest star in combat sports, the trash-talking, whiskey-selling, headline-dominating icon who could do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. And by all appearances, he started doing exactly that. Let's not pretend Meatgate is the first time Conor McGregor has been accused of cheating on Dee. It's not even the second or third. The whispers started almost as soon as he rose to fame. Spotted at parties with Instagram models, rumors of flings with groupies, late-night sightings in Las Vegas clubs without his fiancée in sight. In 2018, he was accused of fathering a child with another woman. The case went public, legal proceedings were threatened, and although Conor denied the allegations, the damage was already done. Then there were the videos. Conor grinding on women in clubs, reportedly kissing random women in Spain, seen in the company of adult entertainment stars. Always speculation, always another story. And yet, Dee stayed. Why? Some would argue love, others would say denial. But many are starting to wonder, is this something more calculated? Could Dee and Conor actually be in an open or polyamorous relationship? And if so, does that arrangement go both ways? It's a fair question. When a man with Conor's fame and ego behaves the way he does, it's easy to assume the rules don't apply to him. But what about Dee? If Conor's sending explicit pictures to Azealia Banks, flirting with women on beaches, and potentially indulging in wild weekends with little regard for who's watching, then is Dee allowed the same freedom? Can she, for instance, go out to a club in Ibiza, let loose, dance with other men, maybe even explore something physical, without fear of consequence? Can she message male celebrities and receive or send provocative photos? Is she allowed to have a Conor of her own? We don't know, because if they are in an open relationship, it sure doesn't look like one. In true polyamory, both partners operate with mutual consent, boundaries, and equality. It's not just he cheats and she stays. That's not polyamory, that's imbalance, that's a power structure. And when you look at how Conor behaves publicly, without apology, without discretion, it becomes clear who has the upper hand. Dee has never spoken publicly about Conor's alleged affairs. Not once. Even during his legal troubles, when accusations of sexual assault and misconduct made international headlines, she stood by him, quiet. But silence doesn't mean agreement. It doesn't mean peace. Sometimes silence is a survival strategy. Sometimes silence is the only thing you can offer when your world is tied to someone else's fame. Well, let's be honest. Leaving Conor McGregor wouldn't be like leaving your average partner. Dee's entire life, her home, her children, her identity, is built into his world. He's not just her fiancé, he's the father of her kids. He's the source of their wealth. He's the face on the mansion door. If she left, she'd undoubtedly receive child support. She might even be awarded a settlement, depending on the legal circumstances. But it wouldn't be the same life. It wouldn't be the private jets, the exclusive parties, the global travel, the designer lifestyle. And maybe that's what it really comes down to. A choice between dignity and luxury, between standing alone or standing beside a man who, by all appearances, refuses to change. There's also the emotional weight. Dee didn't fall in love with the McGregor we see today. She fell in love with the hungry, determined kid from Crumlin. The guy who was obsessed with fighting, obsessed with success, and promised her a better life. Maybe she still sees glimpses of that man. Maybe in quiet moments, when the cameras are off and the cocaine is worn off, he becomes that version again. Soft-spoken, grateful, human. Maybe she's chasing that version, still holding out hope that the man she believed in is buried somewhere beneath the fame and the scandals. Or maybe she's just too deep in to back out now. Let's not forget, they have 4 children. And those kids aren't babies anymore. They're growing, they're learning, and soon they'll be Googling, reading, watching. At some point in the not-so-distant future, they're going to come across this story, the photo. The image of their father dangling a weight from his genitals exposed to the world in one of the most humiliating PR disasters of the decade. What will Dee tell them then? Will she say, "Your dad made a mistake"? Will she pretend it never happened? Or will she quietly, maybe even heartbreakingly, justify it? That's the cost of staying. The burden of being the silent partner, the one who absorbs the shame by association, even when you weren't the one who caused it. There's an uncomfortable double standard here that we have to acknowledge. If Dee had been the one exposed, if nude photos of her had leaked, if she had been caught kissing other men on a beach while still with Conor, the internet would have crucified her. She would have been labeled a cheater, a gold digger, a disgraceful mother. The tabloids would have torn her apart. Comment sections would have filled with hate. But Conor? He gets memes. He gets jokes. He gets sympathy from some of his fans, as if his behavior is just part of being a wild superstar. It's not. It's misogyny. It's celebrity privilege. It's the normalization of a man doing whatever he wants, while the woman beside him is expected to stay quiet, stay loyal, and stay grateful. The truth? Only Dee knows. Maybe she still loves him. Maybe she's trapped in the illusion of what they used to be. Maybe she's staying for the kids, or the comfort, or the hope that one day, somehow, Conor will wake up and realize what he's risking. Or maybe, and this is the most heartbreaking possibility, she's learned to lower her standards, to live with disrespect because it's the only way to keep the life they built together intact. Whatever the reason, she doesn't owe us an explanation, but she does deserve more than what she's been given. Dee Devlin is a fascinating figure in this entire saga, not because of what she's done, but because of what she hasn't. She hasn't spoken, she hasn't left, and she hasn't stopped appearing in public as Conor's unwavering partner. That takes strength, or resignation, or both. But strength shouldn't mean swallowing humiliation over and over again. Love shouldn't look like standing next to someone who keeps publicly disrespecting you. And loyalty shouldn't mean losing yourself completely. So the question remains, is Dee Devlin just loyal, or is she lost? And maybe the bigger question is this: how many more scandals will it take before even the strongest loyalty breaks? Because at some point, even the most unshakable love can't survive the weight of one man's ego, especially when he's literally hanging dumbbells off it.